Chair, and I want to pick up on the Minister's intervention just now, which focuses around clauses 22, 23 of the amended bill. And just to pick up the question of why it is that there is some concern around the idea that you could introduce the concept of a body corporate or somebody who isn't a person into this role of statutory manager. And in my electorate at the moment, I'm dealing with a particular school that has had a statutory manager come in, and I've been working with the board and working with the principal there because they've asked me to come in. And they are complex situations, as the Minister notes, and they're often quite individualised. They're about relationships. They're more often than not, it's about a situation where relationships within the board, between the board and the principal, around the school, and they require often intervention that is quite lengthy. It isn't, although it's temporary, and I accept the Minister's point in that regard that it is temporary, those relationships take time to be rebuilt, and there is actually a need for a lengthy process by which the statutory manager is involved. Sometimes it's short, and that's right. Mr Mallard makes the point. Other times it can be dealt with rapidly. But I guess the overall point is that each situation is individual. Each school has a situation that will be different, and there will be complex relationships that need to be managed. And so I do think it's important that the change that was made in Select Committee was made. The Greens obviously have a view that says that doesn't go far enough. I think that my judgment on looking at this is it does provide some protection in that regard, and really it's about accountability. It's about being able to say that there is a person accountable for their role as limited statutory manager, not some kind of entity, not something that we can't actually put our finger on and say that is the person. And I think across the House, my understanding of the discussion in the Select Committee is that it was really around accountability that a coalition of different parties came together to support the changes here, because most members of the committee understood that moving to approach where an entity could undertake this role rather than a person would reduce accountability. The other aspect that this raises for me in the Minister's comments is the importance of understanding the role of the Board of Trustees in the context of in this case, a limited statutory manager being appointed. And that's why I've got an SOP tabled to reintroduce something that was in Labour's Education Amendment Bill, which was to specify the functions of a Board of Trustees within this piece of legislation. Because I think, as the Minister described the importance of the role of the statutory manager and the role of the Board of Trustees, which, as she said, is crucial to tomorrow's schools, that actually emphasises why we should include those functions explicitly within this bill. They were in the earlier draft of the amendment bill that Labor put forward, and I do think this is an opportunity now for the Minister and others perhaps to reconsider removing them from the bill and actually explicitly outlining them. And just so members are familiar with what we're talking about, it's to include, my proposal is to include the phrase, a board must perform the following functions: A, ensuring the enrolment at the school of all persons who are entitled to be enrolled at the school and apply to be enrolled at it; B, ensuring that education is provided to each student enrolled at the school; C, promoting a school environment that supports the highest standards of achievements for all students; D, actively managing and monitoring the performance of the principal. And then I'll come to the others shortly, but those first four there are critical roles, and they actually help explain why it is that a Board of Trustees is so crucial to the running of the school, why in the context of the changes that have been proposed here around being a limited statutory manager, it is actually important to have the board's role spelled out like that. So I'd hope that the Minister perhaps could take a call at some point and tell us if she's prepared to reconsider including those functions of a Board of Trustees in order to fill out the overall explanation of what we're trying to do here under Section 22. Mr Chair, I want to move now on to the section around information matching, and I do think this is an important section, Section 36, because actually what it does is emphasise the importance of registered teachers within a school environment. And just to clarify for those who haven't been following this closely, what we're now going to have is that effectively the Teachers' Council, through its list of registered teachers, and the Ministry of Education using its payroll function, are actually going to be able to compare data and identify and ensure that every teacher in the classroom is a qualified teacher. And that is not an ECE, as my colleague Sue Moroney points out, and that is a glaring omission in the overall National Party education policy. But here we do have it, and it's important because the quality of education depends upon, Mr. Chair,
Colin King.